again. We're going to be talking about Tale of Two Cities today. And we're finishing up Tale of Two Cities, so we're digging back into themes and motifs and archetypes and all the stuff we've been talking about along the way. But let's review some of the things. What are some of the flaws of A Tale of Two Cities? Does anybody know anything that we've talked about? What are the flaws just in the publishing, not in the story, not your personal opinion? Well, how was it published? It was serialized in how many parts, do you think? 31. Not great. Well, what is some of the baggage that comes with serializing stories? Putting out one part and then selling it to the newspaper, and another part and selling it to the newspaper. I'm going on and on and on and on and on for 31 parts.
Things get left out and they get, altered.
What kind of things do you think?
Important things.
Important things. I would agree. I think I saw this hand first. If it is a hand, it's not. It's fine. Okay, great. Go.
Doesn't the audience a little bit manipulate what could probably be published next?
Yes, there is more concerns than just what the author wants to write, especially because it is serialized commercially. This isn't Dickens putting out one piece on his blog and leaving it there. It's sold to a newspaper and a publisher.
I think that it could be good because you're leaving your audience in suspense, but on the flip side, they could get tired of waiting.
Right. I am someone who's really big into comic books, so you only get 20 pages of story anytime you buy a book, and then you have to wait another month. So there's this weird structuring that goes on with we have to hook them and have all this intrigue, which is spies and sex and romance and death and blood and bloodlust, and then we have to leave them on a cliff at the end of the story just so we can do it all again for 30 more parts. So it gets a little muddled. It's those of you who know the plot well enough can tell me that it is almost, it's complex, sure, but is it convoluted? Do we think it's complex to a wrongful state? I kind of do. There's so much, there's a main story in there that I'm in love with, and then there's Farsad and Clyde, so we're doing spies, so that's great.
Yeah, I was going to say, they do a lot of traveling in this story, and I'm assuming they didn't have the fastest means of travel back then. So
a lot of chapters of we're going.
Yeah, and so then how is it that how is it that they perfectly get to the right place at the right time in this time period when they probably would have had to have waited for a letter or something in the first place?
Because the conventions demand it. That we have to have these certain things to keep our audience and to keep them engaged. What is another flaw of it? What are the two? Okay, go ahead.
Well, also to keep his audience engaged, he would also add some sort of dialogue tick or something with all his characters so that you could remember them through the years of it being published, which makes some people not like him because these characters are dumb.
Yes, and it's not their fault, He has to do it, got to pay the bills. Also, I think Dickens was one of the people who was paid by the word, so it can be very verbose when you get in there. Another thing is, what are the two cities? Paris and London. Great. So, do we think that this novel is super historically accurate? It's about the French Revolution. No, it's not historically accurate. That's the thing that he gets a lot of flack for, is just playing hard and fast and loose, with history for the sake of this commercial presentation. So we have that reviewed. Who wants to define foil for me? Which is also something we've talked about. Foil in literary terms, go ahead.
It's not going to be the most
That's fine, just as you understand it, it's fine.
So foil is an opposite of another character, meant to show their strengths and weaknesses. So
often an opposite.
Often.
But not always. It's mainly just characters who bring out traits in each other, either by comparison or contrast. And also in jewelry, foil is the metallic substance that is put under a gem to reveal its facets. So you get all the different dimensions of it. And you have that with characters also. So our password for this novel, because sometimes novels can be real hard to get into, our password is circularity. C-I-R-C-U-L-A-R-I-T-N-Y. we're looking for circles because they constantly recur in A Tale of Two Cities. The novel opens with the trial of Charles Darnay. It ends with a trial of a Charles Darnay. So, when I was thinking about how we could look into themes and motifs and archetypes often overlap, it looks like a conspiracy theory board. Like I was running strings from here to there, all over here, who killed who, why, themes this, themes that. And I realized that that's real hard to put in a notebook. So, but let's keep talking about circles. All right, circle here. And let's put 4 themes that sort of orbit the sun of this story. Okay, these are themes that are not mutually exclusive. So we have 4 themes, all right? We have duality. It's big in there. We have resurrection. We have revolution, another type of circle. And we have, what is the third? We have duality, and we have resurrection, and we have revolution, and we have sacrifice. All major themes of A Tale of Two Cities. Some of the motifs that we have, and I've written the best ones here, include, let's see, water, fire, light, darkness, or just dark. Let's see, doubles, imprisonment, all types of imprisonment in the novel, and we have blood. So, we have 4 themes, and we have about 12 people. So, pair up into groups of 3. I will assign you a theme, and then you will tell me which of these motifs are orbiting these theme planets, and you'll come up here and you'll write the motif where you think it belongs in this solar system of A Tale of Two Cities. So, group up 3s, so 3, 3, 3, and 2. Go.
Do you mind writing the names next?
Of the themes?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm about to assign you them, and
Okay.
I'll go up and do that. Okay, so duality. So you're going to come up and put any of those motifs anywhere you think, like the thing belong in duality's orbit. Okay? And you will get resurrection, revolution, and sacrifice. Great. And I'll go ahead and write that out. Go ahead.
Does something go in the middle circle? Is it just themes or is it the
We'll get
title?
there. I promise we will get there.
Okay.
Okay? So, pair up, talk to what you want. When you're done, come up, use the marker. It's fine.
We're relating these motifs to that theme. So which one? Not all of them.
Any of them. Any. Based on the connotations of the motifs or the archetypes, things and images and relationships they conjure, wherever they belong, what theme are they most aligned with? No, we're not all going to have the same answers, okay?
It's on trial and then he's acquitted and it's on trial again and he's found guilty and then he survives.
So we're only doing one thing.
Give it another minute, doesn't have to be right on the first go. Okay. Yes. Shooting star.
He's like,
And we're only choosing the
when
ones
he sees
that
his
are.
daughter.
Oh, okay, so, yeah, well, they're making it one of their own, so you can if you'd like. And we can try and find it in the novel.
Okay.
These are things we can definitely find in the novel, that I found in the novel. But if you come up with something, we can look.
The person ended his jail. The person who's in prison, they're in the dark. In his jail. They come out to the-
Guys about ready?
Is that in
Okay, go ahead. Whoever wants.
See that video?
Should we just write it?
We're not done.
So when we're writing on the board, what do you want us to write exactly? Like,
Which
what we have to.
So assign the motif or archetype a place.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah. Do we have to explain it on the board, or do we?
No, no. We'll do a class discussion about it. But you understand what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whoever's up next, you can go ahead and stand and come right on the board. And you can put multiple ones in different places. They do connect,
Do you
but
need a, here, do
we're
you
just trying to
want
figure out where they most belong.
Now I want to colorful.
Robert Oak marker, that's great.
You're such
Well
a
done.
teacher. Like whiteboard markers, just like
Well, I have my grading pens in there too. Color pens.
London and Paris. You go ahead and pre-elaborate on that while we're waiting.
These are very good.
Did we say anything?
Yeah.
What do you say? I can't say very much.
Imprisonment.
Oh, wow.
I
Best of times, worst of times, age of wisdom, age of...
Well, you can't
Do
say it if you can't relate to it.
Oh, I've never just language.
Sure, it's fine, we're good.
Just leave it.
Sure.
I don't know why he snapped me.
Because you
You
snapped.
snapped. I snapped, you snapped.
Oh, okay.
Without snapping. You guys, everyone gone up once? There. Okay. So, where do we want to start?
So
You go ahead.
we had resurrection, and the point that we kind of talked about first was imprisonment, and we thought that resurrection connected to that just because he's on trial, and then he's acquitted, and then he's on trial.
Who's on trial?
I forget his name.
Charles Darnay.
Yeah. So Darnay is on trial, then he's acquitted, then he's on trial again. Like, it's this
Yes.
recurring thing.
Keeps happening.
But he still finds a way to survive in the end.
Yeah.
So he still finds a way to have a life. And then Tony brought up this really awesome point about darkness that we kind of talked about.
Okay.
So darkness and resurrection, like the girl's dad is in prison.
Yes.
Do you want to explain this?
Dr.
So I don't
Benet.
butcher it?
Yeah, so he's in prison and he's, not all there mentally.
Yes.
And
What's he doing to pass the time? Making shoes.
yeah,
That's his thing.
and so the daughter comes in and he is able to interact with her, and over time, even though he's still in actual darkness,
Right.
his mind is no longer in darkness.
So, bring up a good point. Out of darkness, in darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe we could also put darkness up here and people have it. Okay? So, darkness of belonging, the duality of being free physically, but not so free.
Yeah.
That's the phrase that's used for Dr. Benet when they find out he's alive after 18 years in the Bastille is recalled to life. And that is a theme that comes back again and again and again in the novel. He's recalled to life. So Dr. Benet, dead, imprisonment. So imprisonment is tantamount to death. Okay? And you're brought out of it. Other people that are, other resurrection in the novel, we have a resurrection man, Jerry Cruncher, he digs graves, Robson. We have Little Lucy, who's the future child. Little Lucy is Lucy's daughter. In Sidney Carton's final vision of the future at the end, he envisions a child in the future named after himself. So it's sort of like coming back to life. There's a lot of talk about Lazarus, Sidney Carton's murmuring to himself, I am the resurrection and the life. And we also have the idea of past titles. So Darnay's uncle is the Marquis, and when he is murdered, the title of Marquis goes to Darnay. So in that way, the title lives on. Okay. And what is the famous mythological creature famous for resurrection?
Phoenix.
Phoenix. And one of the chapters in the novel is called Fire Rises. And that is related to what famous historical event that this novel centers on, not around. Well, Bastille Day and largely the French Revolution. So the peasants taking back their France. Okay? So I like this, I like darkness, imprisonment. Who's next? Let's just go there. Okay. Give it to me.
For duality, we said doubles is pretty obvious because you gotta have two of those.
What are some of the doubles? Do you know any?
You know,
off the top of your head?
escapes me.
Charles Darnay, Cindy Carton, why are they doubles?
Because
They
they
look
look
alike.
alike.
Got the same face going on. And that's like crucial to the trial at the time because you could do that in the 16th century. You have Lucy and Little Lucy. You have Lucy and Madame Defarge. They're foils of each other. You have the two cities, which are again
London and
London.
Paris.
very good. And we also have Barsad and Clyde, they're a pair of spies. And Marquis Senior and Darnay, who's the heir to the Marquis. So continue.
Yeah, we anticipated you. We did one in Paris already.
Fantastic. It's there.
I love it. Light and darkness. What else? Fire and water, and then blood and water, which is apparently a biblical thing.
So you're matching, I like that you've matched some of these motifs more, because they also belong in other places too. Fire and water, somehow known as opposites. In mythology, twins are often known dichotomously. So you've got the good one, and you've got the bad one. You've got Apollo and Artemis, and you've just got these things that, here are some things about light and darkness. One, it's a cycle. You have light, then you have darkness. Two, they can't occupy the same space at the same time, right? And they're inextricably linked. So you can't get rid of these things, but they're tied together. Blood and water. Tell me about Jesus.
We felt like this was just an allegory for Christianity in the first place.
I can relate to blood and water.
Please do.
So, at the Last Supper, they're having bread and wine, and the wine, or I guess you could say water, but the water/wine is supposed to be is representative of Jesus' blood that he's
Okay.
gonna shed for people.
This is my blood I give for you.
Yeah.
Life.
Mhm.
Water is life in
Yeah.
archetypal sense. It brings life to everything. What do we know scientifically about water? What's that most famous thing that everybody learns in grade school?
We're made of a lot of water.
Is H2O? Yes. Wait, what's that?
Water is tied very closely to life.
Yes. There's that. Great.
Water and oil don't mix. The water
Yes, the water cycle. Where does it go? It's on the ground, evaporates, goes up, comes down, goes back around. Water, 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 water. Always keeps going. Goes from liquid to solid to gaseous and then back.
Isn't there a poem called Fire and Ice?
Yes,
Or at least-
Robert Frost.
It has that, yeah, it has that like duality in it.
So we know that these things are tied already, and it's constantly recurring, not only in this novel, but all literature. Okay. So who had sacrifice? You guys had sacrifice.
Yeah, we did.
Tell me a little bit about it.
They said imprisonment is sacrifice in a way because you go from living your life to living a much more watered down version of living. But you're still alive, but you're sacrificing. And then what was the double thing?
The Devils was about Darnay and Carton.
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 Name Carton, not to tangent super hard. Carton, Cindy Carton. Carton comes from the French word for, it's related to the color white. Okay? So some sort of purity there. Okay? The doubles.
Right.
That's what you're.
Yeah, and how they switch in the prison cell.
Yes.
So he can sacrifice himself. So
Different kinds of sacrifices include imprisonment and also more seriously
Death.
death. Yes.
yeah.
Just so you all remember what death looks like, think of my face. So, revolution, rounding it out.
Yeah, that was us.
Yes, that was it. Very good.
We said imprisonment because people very.
Thrown in jail and imprisoned in the French Revolution. Why are they revolting at all? Do you know? Okay, go ahead.
Well, this kind of ties into like the dark light because there's always like a light.
Sure.
You know, you're fighting for like a good cause, like fighting
Yeah.
for like what you want. So that's
Well,
like,
there's a harrowing scene in the novel where the son of Gaspard is like there's a mass of peasants on the street and the Marquis Darnay's uncle just comes driving through and he runs over Gaspard's son. And Gaspard's very understandably upset about this. And what does the Marquis do to make up for it? Besides being angry that the kid got blood on his, carriage, he just throws him some money. And he expects everything to go back to normal. This is just another day for the Marquis. In a sense, the peasants are imprisoned by the bourgeoisie. Yeah. Okay. So we have this. We have all these things orbiting. So we have duality, which is sort of like a resting state. And things get bad. So people have to make sacrifices, and they revolt and imprison. So we got another piece of circularity here. What could go here? What goes in the middle? What can we put there that makes sense in context of all of these themes? Class systems, okay? You revolt from class systems. Duality is built on the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. The peasants are imprisoned within the system that they can't escape from. The bourgeoisie don't want to escape. And you have to make sacrifices, like Darnay does, or like Carton does, to achieve this greater thing. This greater thing is freeing itself from the wheel. We have another circle, the wheel of class systems. The French Revolution is the most famous French Revolution. It's the most successful French Revolution. But there are two smaller, less successful ones that follow. One is featured mainly in Les Miserables, and the other is the February Revolution, which happens a little bit later. So, right. Class systems, it adds meaning to this whole system of themes that we've created. We did this in a vacuum almost, because these motifs and archetypes work without us digging super deep into the details of the novel. But when we do, we find something much richer that exists in spite of the fact that this is commercially motivated, that it's given out in serialized parts. So let's take a quick look at the last passage of the novel, where Carton, as he's going to die, says, "I see the lives for which I lay down my life, peaceful, useful, prosperous, and happy, in that England which I shall see no more. I see her, with a child upon her bosom, who bears my name. I see her father, aged and bent, but otherwise restored, and faithful to all men in his healing office, and at peace. I see the good old man so long their friend in 10 years' time, enriching them with all he has, and passing tranquility to his reward." What is Carton doing at the end of the novel? What's the famous thing that he does that makes him a martyr? A Jesus figure.
He switches places
Yes.
with.
Against Darnay's will. He does say that. You know, he has to drug Darnay to take his place. So he goes on, and as he goes to the guillotine, well, not guillotine, I think it is the guillotine, yes. He has a vision of the future, a future where everyone he's defended and sacrificed his life for has a good and happy life, and that there's peace and harmony. So I will leave you with these discussion questions. You can pick two to write on for homework. Okay? So there you go. How does A Tale of Two Cities compare to other Dickens works you know? A Christmas Carol, which everyone knows. Oliver Twist, Great Expectations. Okay? How are the poor presented here? And how are the rich presented? Why might Dickens have presented them this way? Who's morally superior? Who's the chosen people? The novel spans over a decade of time. Is there anything constant in this decade of time? Okay? Revisit the novel's ending again, look at that last page, and I want you to tell me what Carton dies for, and assess the accuracy of his vision of the future, based on what you know now, and what Dickens knew, writing it 60 years after the end of the French Revolution. Or answer the question, how sympathetic are the Defarges, which are the leaders of the revolution, essentially, and who damned Darnay? Are they sympathetic in what they're doing? Do we think that it's okay for them to do it?